Hello. Welcome to Developer Office Hour. Happy Friday. The Developer Office Hour is this time where I come on this live stream and answer some questions that have come up on the forums and on Discord, and also give you a chance if you're here with me to ask any questions that you may have about developing for Omniverse, about OpenUSD, and I'll try my best to answer them here live. And if I can't, we can always bring it back for a following week or talk it offline. So um, everything that I show here is pushed to so any code that I write is pushed to this repository. There is this Omniverse FAQ link that you can click on that has them all listed with links to timestamped videos, so you can watch the videos for any questions that have been asked in the past. I'm going to go ahead and share this link with you. Um, yep, there it is. Welcome if you're here. Let me know in the chat if you're joining us. And so that's the repository. And I think we can jump right into it. So I'll need that back in a moment. So only one question for me today, and and then we'll leave it open for open forum. So, question that comes up is, how do I programmatically open a stage in Kit? So if you look up how to open a stage in USD, um, you'll find some code that is valid, but isn't necessarily the best way to go about doing it in Kit. The reason for that is that uh, Kit has a different way to manage the what we call the USD context. So um, it is the context that's being used by the app to know what's the open stage, what data to show in the viewport and the outliner and all that. So you could use the USD API to open a stage, but it would show up in memory. Um, and you wouldn't see any feedback in the UI. So instead, we have another API to kind of open it and also uh, let Kit know that this is the one that you want to show in Omniverse. So let's look at some documentation here. All right, so there's a couple places that we want to look at. One is OmniUSD. So this is a great place to start for anything that is USD related. Not finding it. No worries. We'll Google search that. The other thing, you know what? Let me just try more generically here. Nope. Anyways, the other one is the USD doc. So this is a great documentation for just explaining some general concepts about USD, and it also often uses OmniKit commands or OmniUSD to explain those concepts. So here's a whole page dedicated just to OmniUSD. And one of these sections talks about events. And That one alerts you for when a stage is opened. I think, there we go, async operations is what I was looking for. Um, and so there's a full example here of how to open a stage. But we're going to look at this and a couple of other options just to talk about that. All right, and I don't know why that's not listed in that list anymore, but you can get to it if you could Google search it. This is the OmniUSD API documentation. And you can see here's the USD context that I was talking about. And if we come in here, there are functions for opening a stage, and there's a few. Open stage, async, and with a callback. With the session layer, we won't go into that. We don't need that for now. But let's talk about let's try these out and talk about what the difference is between these. So I think we're good to go. I'm gonna open up some code here. Welcome, Dwayne. Welcome, Funky Boy. Okay. So I'm gonna build this into an extension, and this looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and open this extension in code. And we're going to look in third party DOH. Nope, we're not going to look there because I haven't added this to my extension paths. New code version. So I gotta set this up. Omnidev dev office hours, I believe is what it's called. There we go. And today is the 18th. Cool. So there's our basic window that we're going to be building off of. I think we could just stuff that there. And I also have in this repository, in this folder for today, just a test stage that we can open up. So we'll be using that. And we can get to that, I think, with a relative path. Will make our lives a little bit easier. So we'll do my favorite path lib, and we're going to generate a path from this file, and we're going to go up to this directory, 1, 2, to parent, and then data test stage. So we'll do parent, data, test stage.usd. Okay, and if I did that correctly, when we come in here, we should have fairly reasonable path here. So that should have reloaded automatically. If we look at the console, extension, MADI codes, data, that looks wrong, right? I think I need to go up one more parent. Take a look here. Yep, one more. So parent. Okay. And now we can look at guess we can start here. Well, we're going to do the non-synchronous option. So we need to get the context, which we will do. And there's a callback that we can add for when it's finished. We won't use that for now, but that's it. So just a URL to the file we want to open. So here we go. We need to import OmniUSD. Do OmniUSD, open state, nope, sorry, get context. You can have multiple contexts in Kit. So you could actually have multiple USD files opened at the same time in memory and operating on them separately. If we look at Omni USD, it's going to be in the functions. Get context. It uses a string name as the ID for every context. If you do an empty string, it'll use the default context that we're usually used to. So here, let's go back to this code, make sure we got it all right. I didn't save, so get context and then open stage. And we'll pass in, we're going to turn that path into a string. And then that should be it. So we click on it and it opened up our stage. Now, why? So that worked. And we're happy. But let's talk about the other options. Why wouldn't you use this? Well, if you have a very big stage, this would block your Python execution and your UI thread, and the app would be unresponsive until the stage loads. So that is why we recommend using the other options, which are asynchronous. So let's take a look at those. So they're a little bit more involved, but they are better. So here's the synchronous option that we just went through. And now let's try the asynchronous option. I think we can just copy this here. Come back over to our extension. And let's see where we stick this. So this is all good. And when we click the button, we are going to run async IO instead. And this is the sync option. Async option. Gonna import async IO. There we go. And I think that's it. I do like what they've done here, which is after it's done, get the stage and print the stage so we can see that result. Yeah, I think we got everything we need. So we're gonna reset this and try it again. Takes one. Yeah, my bad. So because I made this a member function of the extension class, I need to add that self there. And let's try again. There we go. So same results. At least in this case, we perceived it as the same result. It should have printed out when it was done. I believe it's that output there. Oh, here it is, open stage. That one, with the right path, and with the result true, it succeeded. So that's all good. And then last option here is with the callback, which I think is easier to use than async IO. Async IO, if you haven't used it, it can be um, tricky to wrap your head around. So the last one is async with callback. Now, the bad side to this is that to this one is that you can kind of get into this messiness with all these callbacks if you're doing a lot of it. Um, but if you don't keep nesting callbacks where you have one callback, then call another one, and it just becomes harder to trace where the code flows. So that's why it's better to avoid. But if you use it responsibly, I think it's okay. Um, so where's that one? Did I close that? Okay. Open stage. So with callback. So this one, um, you're definitely using the onFinished function here. This is your callback that's going to let you know um, when it's done so that you can keep going with your execution. So we're going to use that. And we're going to do on stage open finished. And I think it takes a result and path. Same story as before. String test stage path. But this time we're going to give it also the self dot. I didn't finish this, so it didn't register it. Okay. And this thing told me that it's a bool and a string. So now, theoretically, we do this. I think the string is the path to the file that was opened, but we'll check it right now. And that looks good to me. Let's try it. Did I comment out the async one? Yeah. Same result. Got all this output from reload and all that. And oddly enough, it printed out class string. That's weird. What? Oh, that was foolish. There we go. So I don't print out the string class, print out the actual variable. Let's try that one more time. I just want to make sure I know what that string is doing. An empty string, so don't know. I guess we can avoid it. We can ignore it. Other than that, same result, and 3 ways to do it. Any questions about opening a stage? And if you look at this USD context, there are other examples, all same, following the same pattern: closing a stage, exporting a stage. So now that you know how to use one, you should be able to use the rest. Save layers, blah blah blah. All right. Any questions about opening a stage or USD context or all that good stuff? All right. Any questions in general? You can open it up for open forum. Stuff you're wondering about, stuff from SIGGRAPH, announcements that I could try to fill in on. Explain like I'm 5, the async thingy. Yeah. So explain as best as I can. Um, so a lot of programming these days uses multiple threads. And when you are and so when you're programming, you may send some work off to and this is aside from Kit and Python. Python gets a little wonky with threading. We won't talk about that, but just multi-threading in general, um, or even multi-processing. The idea is you have the CPU and it has lots of workers that can process, that can run a process, and so um, instead of trying to do lots of things on with just one worker, you can split that up to different cores of your CPU, so that things can run in parallel. You can get things through faster, by sharing the work across workers. And so a common design pattern for applications is you have a thread for the user interface, and then you have lots of worker threads, to do anything that takes time. So your UI, everything that has to do with the user interface, the receiving clicks and drags and all that, you always want that to be snappy. You never want to be waiting for something to finish, um, because that's a bad user experience, right? And we've all experienced that, where you click a button and you wait, and then you grab the window and you can do like the solitaire Microsoft solitaire thing where it redraws the window a bunch of times, and you wait until those extra windows disappear, and then you've gotten the UI has returned, and you can keep working. So that common design pattern is keep the UI thread always uh, light on work, so that so you have that responsiveness. But now you have to manage when you get a button click, sending the work to the those other workers, and then letting the UI know when that work has been done. And so that's where we use these sort of async techniques to know when stuff is done. So if the one that's easier to follow is open stage with callback. The UI will run this, and it will immediately say this function under the hood. It will say, "Okay, I'm here in the UI. Go ahead and run this um, on a separate thread. We know this is going to take time, so it'll send that work. But the developer that called uh, this process is going to want to know when it's done so that they can do whatever they need to do and to update the UI. So we have this callback, and so as a UI developer, I say, hey, I know it's going to take time. I know it's going to happen somewhere else. Just let me know when you're done so that I can keep doing my thing. So maybe uh, I call this and then I show a progress bar, and then I need to remove the progress bar once it's done. So by setting up this callback, the other thread is going to take care of once it's done doing all that work. It's going to go ahead and call my function so that um, sorry, um, so that I can know when it's done and remove the progress bar, for example. Um, so that's basic idea of asynchronous and uh, design patterns and threading. Async IO is a little funky, and I don't know if I want to get too deep into it because it just makes it all the more confusing. Async IO doesn't use threading; it actually runs on the same thread, but it does uh, coroutines. So it's sharing the same thread and just uh, sharing the work across the different workloads on a single thread because Python runs into these issues uh, with things that the with multi-threading. So async IO kind of almost simulates multi-threading, but still on a single thread. So I think I will stop there because I think that's just gonna be more confusing. But at the very least, it's the same idea. We're doing this in order to not lock up the UI. Basically, we're saying this process that called this function, and also the work that's been called need to share. If there's some downtime between the two, go ahead and kick it back to the other one so that the other function so that they can do some more work while we're waiting for the other one to finish. So yeah, if you want to know more about async IO and how that works, I don't have a good resource. If I find like if I've read lots of different articles and blog posts from folks, and um, I don't know if there was any one that I really liked. If I remember, I'll share it on Discord. Yeah, I know. This is one of the things that I think is as you develop for Kit, it's obviously necessary, but I know it's a hard thing to wrap your head around and use effectively if you're just starting to code or if you're new to that concept. And we use it in lots and lots of places, right? Because we want that good user experience. Any other question? Data Juggler wants to know, what are we building? So I only answered one question that came up recently, and that was the how to open a stage and the different ways to open a stage, whether it's synchronous, asynchronous, or asynchronous with a callback. So you can catch the recording to see what that was all about. It was rather lengthy for what it is. How long did it take you to master this? Um, Too long. Nah, I don't like the word master. I don't know. It's I always think of makes me think that it's you have to be like the very best. I know mastery is more of a maybe check boxes that you check off and say, okay, I know how to do this. But um, you can always go deeper, right? So um, you can understand more or less how to use async IO, for example, but then you could go even deeper and get into the insides of it and understand that stuff. So um, not too long for the async IO stuff, at least the level of understanding that I'm at now. Um, like a week of just messing around with it and trying different things. Yeah, expert and mastery and all that. I don't know. I just like to say that I know a thing, that I'm competent, that I have some proficiency in it. Um, Funky Boy's asking about ChatUSD, if I tried it, if what do we need to do to get early access, and what's the target release date for it? I didn't get a chance to try ChatUSD. There was a group that tested it. I did get an invite. I just was wrapped up in other stuff and didn't get a chance to try it. But from the feedback that I heard from other developers, they were pretty pleased with it. I think you heard Aaron, if you caught the live stream on Wednesday, Aaron was kind of talking about it, and yeah, it's cool to see um, very experienced developers using it and finding value in it. Obviously, it's going to be useful if you're just learning. It's way better than trying to Google search this stuff. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I just didn't have anything to really work on at that time, and I was working on other things. Um, but I should try it, um, and I will. Uh, as far as the other parts of that question, I don't have any information yet about the early access process. We should. I'm sure we'll make an announcement, and there's going to be a form to fill out, and um, and I don't know when the target release is for that. Uh, the the training is there's iterations to training, so I think they're still doing some more to see how much more they can push out of that. But yeah, so look out for it. If you've done any of our other early access signups, it's fairly. I'm sure it's going to follow that pattern of some product page and a form to fill out, so to express your interest, and then you'll be reached out to, and in order to try it out. Okay, here's an interesting one. How can we access all objects that have been loaded from the stage? For example, to recreate the panel that shows you the X form and meshes on the right. Good question. Um, okay, so this, right? If you wanted to recreate this stage window, how do you do that? Well, um, there are a couple of things that we can talk about. I think I can just run this here in the script editor. I'm gonna do from Omni, nope, import OmniUSD, and then I'm going to do stage equals OmniUSD. I'm gonna get that default context, and then we're gonna get the stage. This is a USD stage object. I can put a little type in here so that we all know what that is. And then we can do for prim in stage traverse. This is not the final answer, but just to demonstrate that it is possible, and kind of set you in the on the right track. What we've done here is we've grabbed the stage that's currently loaded in Kit, and it's being used by the rest of the UI, and and then we're using this traverse function to go through every prim on the stage and print out the prim, and it's going to show us the prim path for each of them. That's the print representation of each of them. And so here we can see world sphere, world cone. That correlates to what we see in the outliner. And we're actually seeing more than what the outliner is showing. And that's correct because there is more content here that the outliner doesn't show you, the stage window, but is there. And so one thing, an easy way to show is we have these orthographic cameras that are in every stage, and we have some code that inserts them and makes that work, as well as our lighting rig, right? That we're seeing some lighting here. This isn't a black scene, so those lights have to come from somewhere, and they're here. They're programmatically created. And I don't know if we have a way to show that in the view in the stage window, but if we look at the layer window and we say show session layer, they're hidden here. This is a USD layer that is a part of your open session. This isn't stored with the stage unless you tell it to. But this allows you to do edits that will be contribute to the stage, but they're kind of they only live with this session. As soon as I close it, these things will go away unless we explicitly want to push these into somewhere or save that layer. Um, so going back to the question, so this kind of gives you an idea. Of one way that you could start is, yeah, you could just traverse and then start building UI elements for each item in that list. Then maybe you need to filter out the ones that are from the session layer. Um, so it can get pretty complicated, depending on how complicated you want to make it. But this won't work for everything. So if I make this I'm going to make this an instance here. And I don't remember if I need to do more than that, but let's try it out. Nope, that one's still there. So let me do a thing here. I'm going to group this, and then I'm going to instance that, and don't think that's going to do it. It's not going to do it because I need a reference, unfortunately. So anyways, the point is I want to demonstrate this. So let's create a reference. Okay. We're going to make this instanceable. And you can see that these grayed out. These got darker. And this is because now these are instanced. These are proxies for instancing. So yeah, when it traverses, you wouldn't actually traverse these. So now when I run this, you can see here that it got to these transforms, but it didn't go into the other ones. I could actually uninstance this one, and we'll see that a little bit more clearly. So the uninstanced one, it goes in. The 0, 1, it goes in and looks at everything else. But for the instance one, it didn't go in and grab all the prims. And this is an optimization for processing the stage. By doing instancing, we intentionally want to avoid traversing these because once we've read one of them, we know what the rest of them look like. So we do that for optimization. And so there are different ways to traverse and different parameters that you can give this to really look through everything or not, and including instances or not. So it can get complicated. I don't think we can come up with the perfect solution here, but um, I'm not going to leave you alone with that. There is this Kit stage window extension. This is the extension that creates this window that you've specifically asked for, and all of the source code is available for you to look through and digest um, and get a feel for how that was done. So you may need to dig into some other extensions to find the full um, answer here. Like there's this stage widget, I guess. That's probably that may have some more logic about generating about gathering all the prims. So you may need to dig a little bit deeper, but that shouldn't be a big deal, right? You can just go in here, grab the next extension, dig a little deeper. And so yeah, I would send you this way. Have a look at, for example, a stage model may be the place with the answer. But there's going to be a lot of optimizations here that you may, for whatever you're trying to build, you may want to be aware of, because stage traverse in Python can be fairly slow for very large stages. So I don't know the exact implementation for this window. We may actually be going in the SDF module, which is Pixar SDF, in order to maybe use the lower level API to find things. I don't know, but the answer will be there. So hopefully, if you need to this sort of development, you're not starting from scratch. There's lots to learn from here, and a lot of lessons learned from our developers on creating something robust and performant. So yeah, it sounds like we've got a happy customer here. Let me know if there's any other question you have about that. There are lots more questions coming in. There's a question about whether async stage loading will solve the issue of a high memory stage. It shouldn't. In fact, I think like if you did a file open, I'm fairly certain we're using the async functions under the hood to open this. So so no, I don't think that's going to help. But if I'm surprised that um, depending on, I mean, depends on the system that you're trying to load it on, but I'd be surprised if you were running out of memory. So definitely talk with us if you can share any data. Um, we'd probably want to profile that and see what's going on. Interoperability. There's a question about can we do a stream with robots? The Isaacsim team has done some live streams. If you check our live stream, the archive of live streams on YouTube, you should see some Isaacsim ones there. They do their own office hours like this. They have stopped because they were focusing on a release, but I've been told that they will pick that up as soon as things that workload lightens up for them, so that they can reconnect with the community. So for sure, check out the ones that we've already done. I think there's a lot of great ones there, and I think I can show that. If we go to YouTube NVIDIA Omniverse, go to live, and here, no, that's Eric does a little bit of Isaacsim as well. He's doing his chat racer, so you might find some good useful nuggets there. But there's the Isaacsim Robotics weekly live stream. So look out for those. All right. Next question. We can talk about interoperability, I think. I think it was kind of answered. But we can talk about it. So there's a question about how does Omniverse handle interoperability between different creation tools like Blender, Maya, and 3ds Max. And Janisku, hope I said that right, said that there's connectors for those tools. So if we look at Omniverse connectors, yeah, we have a ton of connectors here for different applications. We have some that are some more listed here, developed by third parties. And what these are is they are typically plugins in these applications that will write out USD, and it'll translate whatever the native format is for that application into USD, and then it'll send it to a Nucleus server so that you can have, in some cases, a live sync workflow with that application. But at the core of it, what's enabling that interoperability is USD. And so in some cases, we have applications that simply export a USD file or multiple USD files. And then we can also just open those manually from an Omniverse application as well. So to answer that question, the short answer is it's USD that's enabling the interoperability. The more Omniverse specific answer is what's nice thing is to use the connectors, which will um, oftentimes enable a live workflow, which you may have seen from some of our demos, where you can um, interact in 3ds Max and see those updates live in a USD Composer. And same thing, this can be a single user workflow, or you could have two different users, one person working in one application, the other one working in the other, and you can collaborate. And the thing that the technology that enables that is connectors. And if you want to write your own connector, we have this connect sample that shows you some pared down examples of how to write a connector, and you can then write a plugin for your preferred application, preferred digital content creation app to connect it to Omniverse. Wednesday, someone talked about an extension that does character animation from video. That is gonna be uh, we have the pose estimator in the pose tracker in oops, it's gonna be over here. Oh no, it's gonna be okay. So a couple of things. Um, we have the pose tracker in Omniverse that does it. You give it a video and it'll use AI to do the animation. Move AI, I think, has, I don't think it's here, but if you Google it, I think that's the company that we've been working with most recently, and they have multi-camera setups solution that gives you a really great quality. So I think that's the one that came up in on Wednesday. Um, so Move AI is the short answer. Question about if you open a stage and it's too large, can you monitor it and and cancel it if it passes some threshold? Can you stop or skip the loading? Um, I don't know. I think so. Um, I don't have a large stage to open right now, but we've been doing a lot of work with um, showing loading and all the processes when you do file open, and it shows you it's pulling down um, textures and caching a bunch of stuff. We show the progress bars for those. I thought that's cancelable, but I'm not sure. So if that is cancelable, then there should be a path forward there and a solution to look into. But I don't have anything heavy right now. I think that I can open. Let's check. I don't know if this is going to be heavy enough. And I don't know if code has that. Well, I'll switch over to Composer and double check that. But I thought there should be a window here that opens up. So maybe this is a good one. I'm going to open USD Composer while that's loading. Any other questions? I don't think this one's particularly heavy. It's just the materials that can take a bit of time to compile. I'll try it in a few minutes. There we go. I didn't see an option to cancel there. And it was fast. Things I still need to find out. XAPI. Can I replace Nucleus login screen with a custom one? Not sure. I don't think so. But yeah, I don't know. Let me do a quick search for that. To the FAQ. And then let's look at the authentication and user management. I think it may still use this this little window here. Yeah. Not sure. I'm not going to say no, but not sure. I have to ask about that one. There's a question about are there any plans to match Houdini's USD version? Oops, sorry. Yeah, I don't know what version Houdini is on. Our plan, I believe, is to try to be on the latest and greatest USD as much as we can. Um, so this recent release was a big jump forward to 2211, and then I think we can expect an update like for every release moving up to latest and greatest. I don't know if that's going to happen with the next release or if we're going to do another incremental step and then get there. But because of the development around standardization and new schemas that may come around, and as well as the USD proposals, I believe that's the plan forward. The goal, I believe, is always to try to have the best interoperability with other applications. So even if another application is on a different version, um, we want to be able to um, still be able to interop with them as best as we can. So if that's where the concern is, that's kind of the best answer that I have at the moment. Does that help? So I don't think we're trying to lock versions with anybody else at the moment. Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like side effects are on the latest. So yeah, we want to be on the latest. Um, but release cycles are different. So there is going to be some variance there. Um, but there's lots of improvements and new things coming that we need to stay ahead on. So that's, I think, our game plan. Houdini gives you a lot of power. So yeah, there's a learning curve there. I haven't fully learned it. I know enough to toy around with it, but I'm not proficient. But I want to learn it, and it's probably easier than ever now with the more affordable options. And I think there's a student license or indie license that's fairly reasonable. There's a lot of great learning resources now. I think it's probably easier to wrap your head around making that shift from uh, that node-based creation pattern instead of objects on an outliner. I think is maybe the hardest thing. All right, we are out of time. Always great connecting with you all and chatting Omniverse and also just anything Omniverse adjacent. The Omniverse ecosystem is growing, and every day there's a new Omniverse adjacent thing that we could talk about. I don't know much about Move AI, but that came up today. And Houdini and 3ds Max. So very cool. I hope that was helpful to you all. And we'll be back next week. So Tuesday, I'm continuing with the USD kind of code with me, learn with me style. We're talking about USD scale. We're going to be coding some USD scale and USD scale meaning character rigging and animation. And then we'll have all of our other scheduled live streams. If you haven't, let me show you something here. NVIDIA.com Omnivores is our community page. Yeah, and I think Edmar is in behind the scenes already on it. We have our Omniverse Insider form that I highly recommend that you fill that out to let us know more about yourself and how we can help you out and work together. And then also at the very bottom, there is our calendar of upcoming events. So we have the Mastering 3D Character Animation live stream with Reolution next week, and then Engineering Design in Omniverse. So keep an eye here and keep an eye on this. This is coming from our ad event, and we are constantly updating this stuff. So there's the full event calendar. That's what I was looking for. So here's the other list, but I like looking at the Omniverse community page. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye.